I'm always moving the wrong way. Okay. Hello, I am alive. Welcome to Growing Gratitude. Oh, look, this is a little high. Fix that. Better. Okay. Welcome to Growing Gratitude. I am Becca Lori Hector. I am the host here, and I join you every Monday live at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. And this is where I talk about the challenges of being an autistic adult alive right now, and how I motivate myself through it, and how I set goals for myself that stay in alignment with where I want to reach in the life I'm trying to create. So, welcome to Growing Gratitude, and welcome to 2025, you guys. We made it. It is the new calendar year, right? So congratulations. But what I want to talk about is not that. What I want to talk about is actually the opposite of that. So what I want to talk about is how very little, other than it affects my work demands, the actual switching of a new year is to me, right? How little it actually makes. So, other than it marking a new calendar year and being the day that I have chosen to choose my new F word to go into effect, right? But other than that, right, when I talk about how I've previously talked about cycles and the way that there are big cycles and meta cycles and sort of natural cycles and all of these things that we should be paying attention to. And I didn't just mean that on the fly. I really mean that. So just because the calendar switched over to 2025 and as a society we've agreed that it's a new calendar year, right? Doesn't mean that other cycles are like a light switch and do the same thing, right? Like when we look out at nature, right? It's still winter out there. In fact, we're in the height of winter right now. It's hibernation season out there. Everybody is taking it slow, right? And getting kind of cleaning up and getting rid of what things that they don't need and beginning to plan for when the days get longer, for when the weather changes, right? For when we can begin to really move into the growth phase with our gardens and the plants go into their growth phase, the trees do, right? All of that stuff, right? And so I want you to keep that in mind. I want you, as we've switched the calendar year, and woohoo, now when you write the date, you have to remember to change that 4 to a 5, right? But that doesn't mean that the speed at which you are living your life needs to change right now, right? Because right now, out in the world, right, in our natural world here, right, things are quiet. It's winter. Everything's in hibernation, right? And that didn't change when we went from December 31st to January 1st, right? The bears didn't just wake up because we said that, right? And so I want you to keep that in mind. Don't let the change of the year put a rush behind you. Don't make it compel you to have to get to your goals faster or to make decisions quicker, right? You are still in the months of winter, right? If you are still building things, you might not be ready yet. You might not have the physical energy because our bodies respond to that low light situation that's going on, right? And naturally we slow down, right? And so just because the calendar switches isn't a very fair thing to our bodies to make it pick back up. So I just want to remind you, if you're somebody who loves that switch to the calendar year and it ignites a fire in your belly to get things going, that's fantastic, right? But that doesn't mean that you have to rush through it just because everyone else is rushing, right? We still want to be making those smart decisions. We still want to be taking our time to do that right. Right. We don't need to be compelled by this change of date to rush ahead and get there faster. Right. Because that's not how things really work. So I just wanted to put that behind you. And I just wanted to remind you that we are still very much in this very slow period here. And so we should be taking advantage of that. We should be thinking about what we want to manifest for spring. What is it that we want to see come up in our gardens? What is it that we want to see, happening in our little worlds, right? Because this is the time to be tending to it. This is the time to be slow, to keeping things warm and giving things nutrients, right? And that's what we should really be thinking about. I really loathe the way that switch in date means all of a sudden we should be back up to speed, that somehow the laziness and the slowness of the second half of December, right, is supposed to just dissipate overnight, right? And that's not true. And that's not really how we experience it, right? But that is what our workplaces demand from us. And I want you to separate the life that you're living from your workplace demands. That's what I'm working on desperately myself, is to not allow, right, the cycles of my work, right, to control the cycles of my life. Right? I want to be in control of those cycles. I want to have boundaries around what I let in and what I don't let in, right? Especially when it comes to work, because for me, that's my weakness. That's the place where I will hyper focus, right? Or really I get like tunnel vision around it almost, right? Because hyper focus is different for me than tunnel vision, right? Like when I'm hyper focusing, it's almost there's pleasure to it and all of that. But this tunnel vision doesn't feel like that. It feels claustrophobic to me when that happens. And so I need to do a better job at that. And so I just want to remind you guys, as I remind myself, that just because, right, all of these other people out in the world came back from their vacations, right, and want to get things done now, and they're rushing, rushing, rushing with the change in the new year, doesn't mean that I have to respond with that same energy, right? I still get to choose the energy with which I want to respond to it with, hey, welcome back. I'm just getting back in the office, getting my feet under me, right? And those kind of things. And reminding people that this is a transition, right? And I've got to take it a little bit slower. I do that naturally. And I think it's what's best for me long term. And when I look at sustainability of things, right? So I want you to just be keeping that in mind. Those are my reminders as much to myself as they are to you, right? That we get to decide the energy in which we respond to the world, the energy with which, and the speed with which we respond to the demands out there, right? We get to prioritize those. And so I want to come at you with that energy to remind you of those things. And while I know we've just come through kind of the period of the holidays and everything, I want it to be past. It's done. It's over. Let's not talk about it anymore. Right. And let's forward think. Right. And so in terms of forward thinking, right, I am just coming back from this kind of rest break, right? And yes, it coordinated with the holidays and all of that, but I want to talk about it as a separate being, right? When you get to take a rest break, a significant rest break, which I just got to do, I have the privilege of being able to take a rest break, which for me means that my 9 to 5 job, right, wasn't something I had to think about for the last 2 weeks, which is a gift that I cannot even begin to tell you that I needed, right? And so I was talking to you guys a lot right before this rest break about A, how much I needed it, but also B, right, how I really wanted to do it as a way to model for the people that I are in my community, right, that we have to take breaks. And that means taking things off our plates as much as we can. And that meant for me also saying to you guys, I'm going to model that, and let's turn off live stream for 2 weeks. And I didn't do my group coaching call, and or a couple of other things that I did. So brought everything down to its bare minimum for the last 2 weeks. And that was a mental vacation for me. I cannot tell you how much I needed it. I did nothing. I did so much nothing, you guys. I was surrounded in nothing. I had nothing all over my calendar. I nothinged it up this entire time, because I realized, and I took notes, you guys, too, because of course I thought about you the entire time I was nothinging, and what I was going to talk to you guys about when I came back. And this is one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. I say out loud, I did nothing. I did nothing for 2 weeks. It was fantastic. Okay. But my version of nothing is not the true version of nothing, right? That's not the true definition of nothing. If I really did nothing for the last 2 weeks, right? I would probably have just showered for the first time in 2 weeks. I would have not done my laundry. I wouldn't have vacuumed while I was off. I wouldn't have eaten while I was off. I wouldn't, right? That's truly doing nothing. And so that was the wake up, right? Is that I never actually do nothing. And I have a really hard time doing nothing. And I don't know if I agree with the concept of doing nothing. So when I say nothing to you guys, I spent the last 2 weeks doing a whole lot of nothing. I mean, I didn't have to be anywhere. I had no obligations. Pause with that for a second. It wasn't that I was doing nothing. It was that I had no obligations for 2 weeks. And that is a vacation for my mind. What I did with my time is certainly not nothing, right? So, what I wanted to say, and I wrote it down because I'm like, this is exactly how I want to say it. So, I'm going to read it to you from my notes. And this is what I wrote. My doing nothing is not really doing nothing at all. It's the time to indulge in small joys, to nap because I want to nap, not because I need to nap. Right? I think that's so important for us to understand. So I had no what created this break and this true rest period for me, right? Was that I had no obligations, right? So I made no plans with anybody. I didn't have lunch with anybody. I didn't have dinner with anybody. I didn't have plans with my husband to go on any adventures. We didn't set up reservations to eat anywhere. I mean, when I say no obligations, I mean no obligations, right? No meetings, no phone calls, no nothing. I talked to no I really not no one. My husband's here. I obviously talked to him, right? And if I went out in the world, I did niceties out in the world. The 2 times I think I went out in the world, right? So I didn't leave my house. I didn't talk to anyone, right? I texted with my one friend who can interrupt me for anything that she needs. And then really that's it. I doom scrolled all the place over the internet. I occasionally checked in on my social media, right? Which I had also lightened in anticipation of my time away, right? I just I read for pleasure. I made lists of books I want to read. I really just, I binge watched TV. I watched things I didn't even want to watch. That's how much of it I was doing. Okay. How much I just gave into it. Right. I watched things I was looking forward to watching. I watched things that surprised me. I watched things that I hated. Um, I watched Bridgerton, and I just have to share with you that I am not like the face that I'm making when I said it. I didn't dislike it either, but that's not my style of what I usually watch on TV. But people loved it, and it had a lot of seasons, and I was like, yeah, I can binge that, right? And I did. I binged things that I um wasn't sure I was gonna like. I binged things that are guilty pleasures. I mean, weird things happened. I did took some people's recommendations, right? And sometimes I did like that weird thing where you let your streaming thing choose what you watch next. I even did that, right? I'm reading a fantastic book that I'm almost at the end of, and it's going to like be heart-wrenching. I can already tell. It's gonna be sad, and I'm not good with sad and big emotions like that, especially big negative emotions. To do that voluntarily, like, isn't usually what I choose, but this book is, what has been amazing. It's called A Little Life, and if you haven't read it or if you are a reader, I recommend it. It's a little of a push to get into the rhythm of it because it's such a unique kind of writing. But I'm avoiding the last 100 pages because I know it's going to break me. But it's going to be fantastic, and I'm going to recommend this book for the rest of my whatever. But I feel like I need to be prepared with the spoons for all the extra emotion that the end of this book is going to bring in my life. But I've got books behind it, and I'm really excited to say that one of my I don't know. I guess it's one of my spins. Yeah, one of my lifelong spins is reading. Right? I really love to read, and I love particular kinds of books, but I like to read a lot. And I'm not a speed reader, not the way some people are like, oh, I read a mazillion books this year. I'm very particular about the books that I choose to give my time to, and the way that I am very particular in the way that I share my spoons with other people. I'm also particular with the books that I choose. So I definitely don't read like one after the other, after the other, after the other, because I'm looking for a good book, not just anything, right? And so I go through phases, whatever, but I'll recommend that book because I'm just at the end of it. I mean, this was the real deal of like my version of nothing. So it wasn't that I was doing nothing, right? Because I don't really ever do nothing. That's a fallacy. right? My version of nothing is this non-obligations, right? And to just be able to give in, right? And let my brain take me where it wanted to take me, to just float in it a bit, right? With people. So, yes, that is kind of what I wanted to share with you guys from this big rest break, and how this idea that I wanted to be able to nap because I wanted to nap, not because I needed to nap. I realized that most of the time in my life, I'm taking a nap out of desperation, right? I'm tired. I'm really, stressed about something, or been overstimulated in some way, or something else is bothering me, right? And so I'm taking a nap out of need. I got to take a nap. If I don't take a nap, right, I won't make it through today, kind of feeling. But what I should be wanting in my life is to be taking a nap when I want to take a nap, right? To be, watching TV when I want to watch TV, not when I'm doing it to dissociate from my day, right? And the same thing with reading, to read because I want to be reading, not because I'm looking to dissociate out of my life, right? Or to make my eyes tired so that I can fall asleep, which I do too, right? And so that those things tell me what's going on for me and where I need space in my life and what things I still need to work on. And that was sort of my takeaway from this time away. Because I think it's, I don't know, some people travel over the holidays, they visit family, things like that. Other people go on vacations. I mean, I leave my house once a week by force, kind of. I make myself leave my house once a week. Sometimes I leave twice a week, and in the summertime more because it's beautiful, right? But I really love my home and I love being home. And so I really am a homebody. And with my time off, to have extended time off like that, where I could really rest up and kind of fill up my charger enough that I got to the point, and I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud. I got to the point that I was bored. I was like, I can't do much more nothing. That was really I don't know how much more nothing I can do. And I was sort of ready to get back to you guys. And with that sentiment, I am ready to get back to you guys, really ready to get back to you guys. Because I did do a few little things for myself at the pace at which I wanted to do them, and for you over the last few weeks to get us ready. A big thing is that newsletter is coming out. Newsletter actually goes out tomorrow. So today, I had put the finishing touches on it and scheduled it, and it goes out tomorrow afternoon to you guys. So if you are not yet signed up for my newsletter, please head over to BeccaLoriHector.com. Right there on the homepage, you will see that you can click to sign up for monthly musings, which is my monthly newsletter that is coming out starting tomorrow and on a monthly basis after that. And also, my Patreon is ready. Patreon is up. I've started posting on it. It is ready for you to join. Things will be happening on there this month, and bigger things will be happening the next month on there. So get ahead of everyone else. Get on there. Choose the tier you'd like to be part of the community. But let's start building our community. Let's start creating lots of different spaces where we can have these conversations, where we can talk about these big things, and how we're kind of working through them. And also, when we get stuck, look for each other, right? And find a place where we can connect with each other, ask each other advice, ask each other for resources, right? I'll be providing all kinds of tools on there that are specific to Patreon. So if you are a patron on there, you will be getting things that aren't anywhere else, and access to some things that other people don't have access to, and all of that fun stuff. But I'm ready. I'm really ready to start building that community. I want a safe space for us beyond this YouTube channel. I want us to get bigger. I want us to have more choices of the ways that we connect. And so that's what I'm going to be working on Patreon. So please head over there. Please sign up for the newsletter so that you can get this month's newsletter, which comes out. And then, of course, you'll be getting the next one and the one after that and all of that. And in there, there's all kinds of links to things and places that you can find more stuffs. And so that's what I wanted to remind you of today. I'm excited about both of those things. I'm excited about what that means for my garden this year, right? Because, oh my goodness, you guys, bloop, it's gone. This is Forge. Forge, you gave me a fantastic fantastic year. My Forge bracelet, thank you so much, My Intent Project, myintent.com. They are fantastic. And I love these bracelets. They keep it cheap. And right around November, they always do a big 30% off sale. So you can get your annual bracelet really cheap. And so this is my, not sponsored by them, by the way, at all. But I do love it because I think it's a really affordable way to use a tool and have a reminder that really hangs on to you. So Forge, Forge taught me so many things. Forge taught me that the best path for me is the one that isn't clear always and has certainly not been walked upon by others. Meaning, what I'm looking to do and create and be in my life isn't something I have an example of. I don't have a model for it. I don't have an example for it. I don't know a lot of autistic adults who are going on this journey like this. I know that I brought a lot of people along mine, but I don't, I don't know that. And so that's why I'm going to start creating that path with the Patreon. I'm going to start to find places where I can know more people like me and where we can get together and talk about the things that we care about and the changes we're looking to make in our lives. And that's really what I took from Forge this year, is that when you're looking to create your own path, first of all, it doesn't ever happen quickly. And lots of times you are stuck in the same place for a while as you're trying to push along the path. Your forward movement goes in like fits and starts, right? When you're forging your own path, sometimes you hit a whole pile of rocks and sometimes it's just smooth sailing clay, right? And you're just digging it through. And so as I was doing that, I realized that right around the time when I said, kind of came back doing live streams with Forge, reminded me that doing live streams and creating my own community and building the tools and doing the course and all of those things, right, is my path. That is the path that I am trying to forge, right? And so it has to go at my pace, but it also has to be more focused, right? And I have to really start to really look at that, because that's what I want to be doing more of. That's the path I want to create for myself, right, is to go in that direction. And so I kept forging along, and realized that at that point, that I don't have any models for what it is that I'm trying to do. I have some people, role models that I look to and say, sort of like that. I want to take this piece of what that person's doing and this piece of what that person's doing, right? And I want to kind of meld it together to be more authentic to us, right? To the autistic community. And that's the path that I'm trying to forge. And so I really learned a lot this year from the word forge. It was really an impactful year. It gave me strength when I needed strength. It reminded me, like, no, you're not. You're doing this by yourself. You're digging, you're deciding the direction, you're doing all the work, you're doing all of these things, right? And that's exhausting work and it's hard work, right? But it's worth it. Right. And that's what I was doing. And that I couldn't look outside of my life for how to get through, because no one's doing it like me. No one's doing anything like what I want to be doing. That was the lesson of Forge, right? Is when you are forging ahead on your own path, it's the one that you are building. And so you can't look to the outside, not for comparison and not from role models, because you're doing it by yourself, right? And so that was the year Forge. I'm excited to put it in the pile with all the other F words from last year. And I am proud to say, I always struggle with this. There it is. My intent bracelet for this year, Fructify. I'm going to say it so many times. I'm so excited. Fructify is right on here, and we are ready to bring things to fruition this year. This year, I promise lots and lots of full fruit baskets of items and things and stuff we're going to be doing together, and stuff that I'm going to be doing alone and then sharing with you, and all kinds of other things that'll be going on. But I'm excited that for what Fructify has to teach me. What does it look like when you focus your life on bringing things to fruition, right? To taking your little seedlings and making sure that they blossom. What is that going to look like for me? What does fertilizer for that look like, right? What does all of that stuff look like? Let's take that metaphor really far back. But you know what I mean, right? I'm really excited for this year and what taking this kind of lens on my life will bring to me and bring to us. Who knows what's going to happen? We put it out there, take it to us, universe, bring us lots of traction and lots of communication and lots of prosperity for all of us here in our little community. And with that, I'm going to say it is time for me to go. I've talked a lot today because we had a lot to catch up on. But I will be back next Monday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on YouTube. I'll be putting up the link shortly. So make sure that you join me back here next Monday. And in the meantime, make sure you sign up for my newsletter at baccalaureahector.com. And then make sure that you head over to my Patreon and sign up there because things are happening. It's all happening and it's happening right here. So I'll see you next Monday so we can talk more about what's happening and what this first kind of week back to real life has been like. And I'm motivated to do it because I've got you guys with me. So I'm looking forward to sharing what comes of it with you this year. In any case, from now until the next time, what I ask that you do, as always, is please, please, please make sure you take care of your meat suit. Make sure you take care of your headspace, right? And make sure you are keeping your eyes, ears, nose, toes wide open in search of those glimmers, because the glimmers are the good things that keep us going. They keep us motivated through all the hard times. Until then, you guys, I will see you out there. Bye.